Hello again, and apologies for Jamie's enthusiasm. Also, I'm incredibly scandalized I was not in that montage, but details, details. Hello, and welcome to The Happening. My name is George Shaft, in case you missed me, and I am, just talking about like what happened this past week. I've already talked about the mass shooting that happened in Plymouth. Tragic story, really heartbroken, but hey, at least they are incredibly rare, these incidences. But let's go move on to another story. Yes, which is the United States. So last week, you might remember if you were watching my thing last week. Don't answer that question. I talked about the New York governor, Andrew Cuomo. Uh, Andrew Cuomo was back then in a lot of hot water because harassment report came out. Basically, uh, like the attorney general was looking into all these stories. Like, hey, everyone keeps saying that the governor keeps sexually harassing them. Maybe we should look into that. And then they did, and they found yeah, he keeps harassing everyone. He keeps coming on to all the women that he's surrounded by. This is not okay. Uh, Now he's resigned. Back in the last week, I even called for his resignation. I was like, just go. But I've got the Huffington Post up for this, and it reads, quote, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo resigns after damning harassment report. The Democrat won praise for COVID-19 news conferences, but the uproar over the results of a sexual harassment investigation proved overwhelming. All right? New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announced on Tuesday that he would resign following calls for his departure after an investigation by the New York State Attorney General found he sexually harassed multiple female employees, violating federal and state law. 9 women accused the governor of sexual harassment and inappropriate comments earlier this year, sparking an independent investigation in March. The resulting report, filed in August, painted a, quote, deeply disturbing yet clear picture of Cuomo's behavior, the state attorney general, Letitia James, said. In at least one instance, investigators found that the governor and his senior team actively retaliated against a woman who accused him of sexual harassment. Finishing little quote, Cuomo's administration fostered a toxic workplace that enabled harassment and created a hostile work environment where staffers did not feel comfortable coming forward with complaints about harassment due to a climate of fear and given the power dynamics. Oh dear. Dear. And then everyone called for him to resign, including me. And now he has. He decided to just go in a bit of a kind of a dramatic way. He made a press conference talking about yeah, no, I'm going, but you're gonna miss me when I'm gone, kind of thing. But all I can say really on this is good. Don't get me wrong. When the sort of pandemic was happening, and people were just dying in droves all over the place, he was praiseworthy for going and saying hey, yeah, COVID-19 is real. Please, do a lockdown and don't die of this. But that, I think, is overwhelmed by the fact that sexual harassment isn't okay. I mean, I know this is not a controversial take. I hope it's not, but I'm glad to see he's gone now. I mean, even this COVID-19 thing, he was not a good governor in any way. The COVID-19 thing was, he was saying the right things on the TV. He was going to the press conferences going yeah, no, this is a real disease. We should really take this seriously. But then it's okay, Yet people are all like dying in droves. Something ridiculous, like 1 in 5 people in care homes, like in kind of, old people's homes, died of COVID-19 in 2020 in New York. Explain what that. And it's like, oh, well, you see, it's a very real disease. It's very serious. It's like, okay, but everyone's dying. Yeah, but you don't understand. It's a really big problem, and I'm doing everything I can. Okay, what is everything? Everyone's dying. I ultimately have put this story up because it's a follow-up to what I said last week. And last week, I ultimately said pretty much everything I had wanted to say about this story. But I add this because it is important to have that little final nail in the coffin to go like, okay, he's gone. Hallelujah. Good thing. I presume now that the state's going to have like an acting governor for a while until they have, an election. The election will probably be at the end of the year, towards like November. That's typically when the United States has like voting. Hopefully, this new person who's going to be the acting governor is going to be, all right, and not be a creep wherever he or she goes. But at the end of the day, it's just a good story. A lot of kind of news shows make this big point of like having this doom and gloom, like, oh, everything's terrible. But in this case, it's not so bad actually. Like, that he's gone. Maybe someone better will be in place instead. I know a fair few people have been sort of pointing towards the kind of Me Too movement. The kind of the Twitter handle that victims of assault, harassment, even rape kind of use to sort of put forward like their stories and to let the world know who was, doing all this stuff. And this is yet another sort of powerful, arrogant man who's being taken down by this, or by the sort of general kind of opening culture sort of being fostered, really, of not letting this filth kind of be hidden. And I can only welcome that. I can only really say it's fantastic, The kind of locker room lads culture, if you will, the idea of, it's just, boys will be boys kind of attitude, was a really good cover for really despicable behavior. And the fact that the culture's changed in this way, and I've actually got to see it in my lifetime, that's a bit of a privilege. It's a good thing. That's all I've got to say on this story, honestly. Make sure to listen to these other people. I'm sure they have got a lot more to say than I do. Maybe they even have some good news. In the meantime, I'll catch you all again very, very soon.
Again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, how much it's changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no. If that makes sense. They can't
accept rejection, essentially, is all you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you how did I do? Well, you didn't do very well. And they get upset. And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young, well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, I'd say to me, you had one to forget. That's it.
Yeah, that sounds like a smart guy. I mean, yeah, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
You know, he'd say to me, you had one to forget. Get over it. And that was it. So I'd dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. An inquest. They'd have to me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you know, you get medals for participation. But what's the point? What are you trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of lose. You know, when it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. You know how much. A lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives, and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because, as you said, you know, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. You know, for the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid. I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure.